wonderful to be here. I am, as you said, I'm Jewish, and in my tradition, we greet each other in Hebrew the way that I know many Muslims greet each other in Arabic. We say Shalom Aleichem, peace be with you, and I know you say Salam Aleichem, peace be with you. And my prayer is that our shared words and hopes for peace rise up to the heavens and help make peace between our peoples and between all who dwell on earth. So that is certainly my prayer. I'm deeply honored to be with you this evening. As a Jewish woman who is now president of a Presbyterian college, speaking to a group of Muslim community members, it is a feeling of this is America, and it is extremely meaningful to me. I have a tendency to speak very quickly, so if you have trouble understanding me, just say slow down and I'll try and remember to do that. I won't mind that at all. I'm going to talk tonight about the liberal arts model of education and about liberal arts colleges and about how I think we have an opportunity in that kind of educational setting to think about religious diversity in a way that is very unique and very respectful of religious difference, and different, I think, than we see in other educational models and other ways of being educated in the United States. Liberal arts colleges are unique to America. They're an American model of education. They are different from universities in that they only are offering the undergraduate degree. So a school like Austin College, we only have undergraduates. Most of them are traditional age undergraduates, so they're students usually starting around 18, just after high school graduation. They come and they spend 4 years. They live on our campus in small groups and clusters. We are very much a community. We are a small college, about 1,300 students. Everybody knows everybody's name. The professors know everybody by name. So my husband's students call him Larry, and he calls them Susan or Joe or whatever their name is. Very much a community, different than the sort of formal structure you might see at a university, where you have, I know people here probably are at University of Dallas or UTD, big classes, big students. At a liberal arts college, the classes that you have, very small, maybe 10, 15 students, and a professor. You might sit in a circle. You spend a lot of time together inside the classroom and a lot of time together outside of the classroom. It's called a liberal arts education because the idea of it, the concept of it, is that it is supposed to be liberating, freeing. Not so much to free you from things. This is, after all, a form of education that started in the United States, which is a place where people already feel very free, but to liberate you too. To liberate you to pursue your own ends, to pursue your own dreams, to pursue happiness. It is learning that takes place in a genuine community where people support each other. Traditionally, these colleges were founded by churches. They were often founded in small communities by different denominations of Christian churches. And they were founded originally in order to educate ministers for the community. So a community would form in Texas, far away from Harvard, and the community wanted to make sure that its young men could learn and study and eventually be ministers for the community, and so these schools were founded. Now, most liberal arts colleges draw students from a wide range of religious traditions. And many of them have lost any connection with their original church religions. Austin College has maintained that church connection. We're a Presbyterian church, which is one of the Christian denominations that is, has a long tradition in the United States. I'm delighted that our college chaplain, a minister in that church, John Williams, is with us tonight. And so it's been a really interesting learning process for me about what it is to be a Jewish woman, someone whose faith and traditions are very important to her, and yet my job is to lead a Presbyterian college full of students from many, many traditions. We have 1,300 students, just about, and about 3% of those, maybe closer to 4%, are Muslim. Maybe 2% I think are Jewish. We have Hindu students, we have Catholic students, we have many of the Protestant denominations represented, and we have some students who don't identify with any religious tradition at all. So we are facing the question of how do you create community? Our whole form of learning depends on our sitting together and being in community, and yet respect difference. And that's a problem and a question that I think is one that is important to ask. It's very important for me personally, and it's been very growing for me to have this as part of my working life. I'm going to talk a little bit about what I think I've learned, and then I hope we can just have a dialogue. So I won't talk for too long, and I hope we can just have a conversation and you'll ask questions. In the United States, as you know, there are sort of two ways that universities happen. There are public universities that are supported by the state and are typically very secular. And then there are private universities that are supported by tuition and private contributions. And some of those are secular institutions. And some of them are still very Christian. So Baylor, for example, Baylor University is a Christian university, and they hire faculty that are Christian. They believe that that's part of their mission. That's a religious university. Other universities, even private ones, are more secular, and state institutions are always secular in the sense that they are not supposed to be espousing or demonstrating any kind of religion. At a secular institution, and I know this because my own education was at secular institutions. It was at the university, all my degrees are from the University of Illinois, and the university, I studied also at the University of London in England. And in those secular universities, religious difference is definitely tolerated. I don't think I ever experienced any overt discrimination as a Jewish woman at the university, even though Jews were clearly very much in the minority. There certainly were Muslim students. There were students of a variety of different faiths at the university. For the most part, the Jewish students hung out together, and the Christian students hung out together, and the Muslim students hung out together, and there was not overt tension, but there wasn't interaction or sharing or relationship. And I think that's very typical at what you would find at a contemporary, modern American university. Now, as those of us who have some experience being in a religious minority know that tolerance is not to be underestimated, right? We are often very relieved and happy to be tolerated, that there's no violence, that there's no overt discrimination. That is a blessing, and certainly not something that my parents could have counted on or my grandparents could have counted on. So for me, that opportunity to attend a university and be treated with respect, even as a Jewish woman, was something that I don't take for granted. But it also is not where I think we should be content to rest. And what has really been very growing for me in the liberal arts context, and particularly at Austin College, is an opportunity to see a model of college education, higher education, that is focused more on something more than just tolerance and sort of a respectful separation or distance. What I see as possible in a small, religiously diverse community is something that I think is really a model for how we can be towards each other. It's a model for how you can attend a university, be part of the culture in which you live, and yet retain your distinctive identity and feel good and supported in that. I want to talk very briefly about three different concepts that I have learned and that to me seem to be central to this notion of religious diversity. The first concept is one that I'm sure will be familiar to you, and that is the concept of hospitality. And I know that this is something important to this community because I was just served a wonderful cup of red tea, and I was treated as a wonderful guest and invited in. And every moment since I have walked in the door here, I have felt that kind of welcome. And that sense of hospitality is very, very important. It's certainly important in Jewish tradition.